Hello, and thanks for joining me on this episode of Simply Saturday. Today we're going to be making a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie, and thanks for being here on my channel, Stamp with Julie Baum. The stamp set that I'll be using today is called Delightful Wishes. Now we are going to make a fast and easy card, which means I'm going to be using stamps from this and not any of the dies. But the dies that coordinate with this are simply amazing. I am going to bring in to your view just a little sample. This is not all of the dies. Frankly, I have some of the dies set aside already because we are going to do a spectacular card at February Stamp Club using some of these things. So I've already pulled out some of the larger dies that we're using. But you can get a peek at the intricate, beautiful, delicate dies. And I also will be showing my customers this handy sheet that really breaks it down and shows you what all of those pieces do. So back to our card today. We are using stamps from Delightful Wishes. All right, now one of the colors in this designer series paper is Pool Party. And I really like how the Pool Party looks with the yellows. Now this packet of designer series paper is called Floral Delight, and it is a 12 by 12 packet of paper. That is where I got this piece, and it's 4 inches by 5 1/4. So you can see that it's got the yellows, it has Old Olive, and it has Pool Party. So I chose to make the card base out of Pool Party. This is our 4 1/4 inch by 11 inch card base, scored and folded at 5 1/2 inches. Then we're going to attach that designer series paper to the front, just using our multi-purpose liquid glue. As I mentioned about Stamp Club in February, I will be posting a video of those projects, so you'll have to be sure and check back once that goes up sometime after the, let's see what date that'll be, sometime after, on or after February 12th. You'll be able to see those Stamp Club projects. All right, there we've got our designer series paper on the card base, and that is the front of the card. Then I wanted to use a shape. This is the piece that I'll be doing the stamping on. This is from Nested Essentials Dies, and if you don't have this, you could simply use a rectangle piece that is going to measure about 1.5 inches by 4 inches. But if you have the dies, go ahead and run this through your Stampin' Die Cut and Emboss machine with some basic white cardstock, and we are going to do our stamping on that piece. I also took some more paper from that designer series paper packet, and I'm using this little kind of burlap looking piece. This is 4 1/4 inches by 1.5 inches. And I'm going to be adding this to the front of the card like this, just to give it some interest. I'm going to make a banner end here, or a fishtail. And you see me do it a lot of times with scissors, which is a great way to do it, where you snip up the center and then you snip from the corner to the center. But I also want to show you what I reach for a lot of times, and that is this retired punch with a little banner end here. And what I'm going to do is use this to create that end on my paper. So I'm just going to insert the paper. If you have this in your stash, it's a great one to grab for this little trick. And there's a good chance that you do have it in your collection. Look at perfect every time. All right, if you don't have a punch that will do that, you can just do it with your scissors. All right, let's go ahead and attach this, and then we'll do our stamping. All right, this is going to go in a diagonal fashion here from the top left, kind of aiming towards the bottom right corner, like so. All right, now we're going to do our stamping on this piece. I also have a white panel that'll go on the inside of the card. We're going to stamp a little bit on that as well. All right, for starters, we're going to use this large stamp that says wishing. Now this is a large stamp. It also coordinates with 2 of the dies in the die set. And what I'm showing you is because I have it mounted on this large block, it's a little bit cumbersome to move around. So for easier maneuverability, I like to turn this size stamp block upside down, and then I take my ink pad, turn it over, and I'm going to ink my stamp this way. I feel like I have a little bit more control instead of doing it the traditional way like this and walking it across. The ink pad kind of sticks and it jumps around. I don't know, it just seems a little awkward. So again, I'm inking this way. And then what we're going to do is stamp right in the middle of this, knowing that the top of my H and the bottom of my G are going to hang off. And I'm not worried about it. So if you're stamping just on a rectangle piece, your G and your H will probably fit on that size that I gave you. All right, there's our wishing. Then in that stamp set, there's a lot of variety on the other sentiments. So I'm going to use you well. So it'll say wishing you well. And I like that because it could really be for anything. It could be wishing you well, happy birthday, wishing you well, happy anniversary. How about a get well card that says wishing you well? I think these 2 words together can be for a lot of different types of cards. So I've got this inked up. I'm using Old Olive ink, and I'm going to look down through my stamp and add that to my little tag that I'm creating, like so. All right, now we want to dress it up a little bit. So I'm going to tuck a piece of scratch paper underneath so that I can stamp a little bit off the edge here. And I'm reaching for a small flower stamp that is part of that stamp set. And it's a 2-step stamp set, so we're going to use 2 colors of yellow. I'm going to use Lemon Lolly and Daffodil Delight. All right, in this instance, and I can really go either way. I can do a darker outline, the detail part of the stamp first, and follow it up with the paler color second, or I can reverse the process and do my lighter color first, that's just the basic shape, and add my detail after. It's up to you, whatever feels best. Sometimes I switch it depending on what stamp set I'm using. Today, I'm going to stamp the darker, the Daffodil Delight, the detail part of the stamp first, like so, and then I'm going to come back in second with Lemon Lolly and the basic shape of the flower. Ta-dam, like that. You don't even have to be too concerned which direction this is going. It's just going to look good almost no matter what you do. All right, since I've got my yellow and my flowers, let's go ahead and stamp the inside panel. Then we'll come back and finish that top piece. All right, so I'm going to repeat the process, and I'm going to stamp 4 of those across the bottom of my inside panel, gently going up and down, and complete my flowers with my Lemon Lolly, like so. Adorable. 2-step stamping is just a win in my book. You end up with great images with very little effort. Okay, back to our piece that we're stamping on for the front. I wanted to bring in a little bit of that pool party. And so there's a stamp in the set that is a little trio. Honestly, this could be flower centers, although it doesn't seem to match perfectly one of the flowers. I think it would work if you wanted it to, but I'm going to use this as filler. So I'm just going to stamp a couple of those here and there, bringing in that blue color, and it just kind of gives it a little whimsy. All right, at this point, we're ready to attach it to the front of the card. And so I'm going to do that with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I've got the regular size here today, not minis. And we're going to need several because it's a pretty large die cut. So I'm going to use 4. And then we'll peel the backings off of that, or off of those. I'm just out of camera view because I'm peeling those backings off right into my trash can, which was right here at my side. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and place this. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the length of this is just a teeny bit shorter than the length of your designer series paper. So you will want to make sure that it's centered so that it doesn't look crooked. So I'm going to place it here, and I see that I'm going to have a little designer series paper showing on the left and a teeny bit showing on the right. And then I will feel confident that it's going to look nice and straight. All right, so we're going to lay that down. And as you can see, I've got a little paper showing here and here. All right, squish those dimensionals down, make sure it's holding. Now we're just going to do a little bit of embellishing to the front. Let's go ahead and drop the inside panel into its place. Move my ink pads out of the way. Have you ever done that when you're stamping and then you flip a card open and you have an ink pad sitting right there? I have too. Isn't that pretty? The pool party with the yellow and white. Oh, it's so bright and cheery. Okay, that is in place. So for the front of the card, I wanted to do something with the ribbon that coordinates. This is part of the suite. If you purchase the suite, which means it is the stamps and the dies and the papers, including some vellum paper, then you also get this beautiful Daffodil Delight ribbon. You also get some little bee trinkets that I'll show you. They're here somewhere. I'll show you those. But instead of doing a bow on this Fast and Easy card, I decided to go back to my tried and true shabby chic knot. So all I need are a couple of inches of this. Let's see, 3, 4, maybe about 5 inches. That's going to be generous, but I'm going to take 5 inches of ribbon. And then I'm going to add some twine. So let me grab my twine. All right, so same thing, about 5 inches of white twine. And then when I went in my drawer to pull the twine out, I realized that I have some Tahitian tied twine left over. It's retired, but the colors have retired, but I still have some. And look, it's going to look great with the pool party. So I'm going to use a little length of that as well. All right, and as you've seen me do before, when I do my little shabby chic bow or knot, I just take 3 or more little pieces of different types of trim, hold them all together, and then simply tie a knot with all of the pieces. I like the texture of this. I like the little splash of all the colors. I just really like it, and I know you've seen me do it a bunch of times before. All right, so I'm going to trim up those ends. Okay, let's put our little knot on here. I'm going to take a glue dot, and you could either take this and push it down into the little glue dot itself, or I'm simply going to pull it off of the roll with my take your pick tool and just kind of ball it up so it's nice and compact. And I'm going to place my glue dot ball right there and squish my shabby chic knot right into it. Look at how fun and fresh that looks with all the little tails. All right, the last thing I feel like this needs is something right here. And so I reached for rhinestones, which I feel like if you are into crafting at all, you probably have rhinestones. You might not have some of the fancier or the newer gems. available at your fingertips, but you probably do have rhinestones. So I'm going to reach for those. I'm also going to show you, we're not using them on this card, but I did want to show you those little bee trinkets. They are simply adorable. Let's see what a good way to show you. Maybe like this. We are using the bee trinkets on our card for Stamp Club. So like I said, you'll be able to watch that video later in February. Look how cute they are. Adorable. All right, back to our rhinestones. One extra little trick I wanted to show you, which isn't hard to do, so it fits with our fast and easy. When you have your rhinestones and you would like to dye them to match your project, you can reach for your Stampin' Blends. So I've got a Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blend here, and while the rhinestones are still on the little plastic sheet, I'm simply going to color them. Now this is going to be very subtle because it's yellow, but the rhinestones are picking up that yellow ink from my Stampin' Blend, and I have yellow shaded rhinestones to add to our little project. Again, that's an extra step that you certainly don't need to do. Just the regular rhinestones would look adorable on here, but if you have a moment and you have a yellow Stampin' Blend, you can custom color your rhinestones like I did. We're going to put 3 on here. In a little bit of a triangle shape, and press those down. All right, I am going to show you a card that is almost identical to this. The only thing that I did different on that card, and it was an extra step, so I chose to not show it to you during our super fast and easy card, but what looks very nice is on the edge of this cutout or your rectangle. If you want to do some sponging, which is what I did on this one, I took my sponge dauber and my Pool Party ink, and I simply sponged the edges. Let me show you how that's done in case you've never seen sponging. This is a scrap of cardstock, obviously, where I cut my shape out. But when you're going to sponge the edges of a shape, you're just going to hold your piece of cardstock in your hand, take the inky sponge dauber, and you're just going to scrape down the edge. It couldn't be any easier. Anybody can do this technique, and it really can add a nice little shadow around your die cut. And so that is what I did on this one. And on our super fast and easy card, we did not do the sponging, and it looks like that. So that is our card for today. There is the front. Here is the cute little inside with the yellow flowers. And that is a wrap. I thank you so much for watching today and sticking through to the end of this video. I will put some information for you below the video in the description box. And until next time, happy stamping.